Hello, happy Thursday. I got it yesterday. Don't expect 2 days in a row. How y'all doing? It's hot where I am. I don't know how it is where you are. I just know it's not snowing, and that's always a plus in my book. Anyway, it's not snowing. It's not storming. Um, but it isn't above 100, but it feels like it. So I have two fans blowing on me tonight. Sorry if they're loud. I hope they're not. But hope you've all had a great day. We are on our final day of Shanda. We made it. We're here. It's gonna be a little bit longer stream to get through everything, but we can do it. We can do it. Flashman, I'm present. It's been just a weird week, and I'm glad. Like tomorrow, it's just tomorrow. I'm glad tomorrow's Friday, and that'll make me happy. Rookie numbers. Well, that's because my state doesn't try to unalive me. But thanks. Your state tries to unalive you with everything. I used to think I wanted to live there. I'm like, eh. What's up, Ada? I was just talking about your state. And how every time Carmen tells me something, I'm like, I'm not ever coming there. Oh my goodness. How you doing, Ada? I hope you're doing well. You've spoiled me this week. I don't even know what to do. Thank you so much for all the redirects. And if I will be streaming tomorrow morning. If I can repay the favor tomorrow, I will. What's up, old soul? How was your day? It's good to see you. Hope you've had a great day. Flashman Gabby, I posted this really early this morning. And well, earlier than I normally do because yesterday I was scrambling and I don't like to do that. And it gets lost in the Discord feed. So she likes to keep it up in the front, especially for people that don't go back and look at things, or they just look at what's right there. And some people just have problems. So with that, like us older folk, but she's just trying to keep it front and center. I'm thinking, I think Court TV is going to have her hearing. I hope so, because the audio might be better. So I'm thinking about starting around 9:50 a.m. Eastern time. The hearing's supposed to start at 10, so we'll just hang out and do whatever before that, and hopefully it'll start. If it doesn't start, I have some stuff we can do, and then we'll call it a day. So I did watch an interview with the prosecutor that he did. He said, I'm kind of like, man, I'm here for this. I don't think he'll be doing the hearing himself tomorrow. I can't remember what he said her name is. She'll be doing it, but they may be calling her defense attorney, Mr. Johnson, that we're watching in this trial. They may be calling him to testify tomorrow about her mental health conditions, probably during the trial. And because he's like, there's no way she didn't know what was going on. So I heard him say that, and I'm like, let's do it. That would be amazing. And a little bit of indication for Mr. Johnson having to deal with her. Let's just be honest. So I'm hoping and hoping that we get to watch it. And but yeah, it should be interesting. Even if they have to call other witnesses to just say, like, she was fine. She was fine. So yesterday, well, I guess I should say, because I always forget to say, we're watching the Shanda Vander Ark trial, rewatching it. This trial took place in 2023. She, in December, she was on trial for the starving and torturing her 15-year-old son, Timothy, to death with the help of her then, I believe, 19-year-old son, Paul. Um, he didn't take a plea deal. He pleaded guilty and testified against his mother at trial. He was not charged with the death. He was charged with child abuse. Shanda was charged with the death and child abuse. Yesterday, we watched her cross-examination, which, if you did not see it, it's awesome. The prosecutor did so well. Like, he jabbed at her so many times. Hey, Tink, it's Ada Raid already. Thanks, Ada. How you doing, Tink? He jabbed at her. He made so many comments that were just like so good. So good. She deserved every single one of them. She thought she was 2 steps ahead, not realizing she was 20 steps behind him the whole entire time. She apparently lied. I was listening. Hello, June. How are you? He was talking today about how when she was on direct examination and she told her attorney, hey, Ronnie, I had to read that, Ronnie, sorry, that she had given Timothy a warm bath that night. Well, hey, weird Debbie M. Like your name. And the prosecutor knew that was a lie. So that is when he decided on the fly to ask her about the bath. When he laid those photographs, the photographs down of Timothy, that what he looked like on that day, and then she threw up, that was all planned on the fly after she lied about giving Timothy the warm bath. So, I mean, I was just like, if I could high five you, prosecutor, I would. That was brilliant. He said he didn't say like if he looked in the garbage can to see if she actually threw up or not. I kind of wanted him to, but I don't blame him for not. He said the jury wasn't buying it, obviously, and that she was trying to get like an Academy Award for acting, which obviously she would not. But so that was interesting. That happened yesterday. I would just say, like I said, if you guys did not see the cross-examination, you should go back and watch it. So this news channel that we're watching this on is so strange. They just cut off at the weird time. There's no warning. There's no nothing. Yesterday was in the middle of a question. We didn't hear the answer. We will never hear the answer. And so today we are going. Why would you drink mouthwash? Flash fan. No. So today we're going to the final day, and Shanda's not here. If you watched the first trial, you know how this goes. Shanda's not in court. We're going to start with her attorney giving the reason that she's not in court. And this ties into her hearing that's happening tomorrow that she's trying to get. So a new trial because she was catatonic and she was not competent to stand trial. If you watch her throughout her trial. She's there. She's present. She knows what she's doing. And if you watch her on the stand, 100% competent and knew what she was doing. That's not going to go. It's not going to fly. But it'll be fun to watch her try. So after all that, Flashman, you're fine. As long as you like drink the whole bottle. Yes, Tank. That's the perfect way to say it. Whew. Yes, she's so confident. She's even correcting the attorneys on both sides. Absolutely, 100%. Yes. She's also so annoying. I think she thought that she was a better attorney than both of them. It's my guess. But so we're going to start with hearing basically her attorney making a record, and then the state will put on their rebuttal witness. There is there will be a time when we hear video. We do not see video. There's never any graphic images shown here, but we will hear the video from what happens. I think I know we hear when they find him, when they find Timothy is deceased. We hear that. And I don't remember if we hear that of when she takes him out of the bathtub and puts him in the small closet for the night. I don't remember, but we will not see anything. So don't worry there. And I have everything up as far as I can get it to go. So if you have headphones, I would listen to that part on your headphones if at all possible, because it is hard to hear. It's not super great audio there. Yeah, me too, old soul. She needed to be there. Yep. What's up, Bree? How you doing? If Boone, Daybell, and Vander Ark were all housed in the same facility, you'd say, nope, here's my badge. I'd rather deal with your business. Ooh, I don't think so. Your business put you in a crack pot. I think I'd take my chances with the other one. Hey, Gabby. Hey. Oh, I'll take Betty over all of them. Absolutely. I will take her over all of them. All right, let's go.
All right, we are back on the record in file 23110FC. People of the state of Michigan versus Shanda Vander Ark. This is day 4 of the jury trial. Record should reflect that Mr. Johnson is present in the courtroom representing this Vander Ark. Mr. Roberts is here on behalf of the people of the state of Michigan. Ms. Vander Ark is not present. My understanding, Mr. Johnson, is that she is suffering some medical distress this morning, and I know you want to put something on the record regarding that before we go forward, so you may proceed.
I do, Your Honor. My client is suffering a medical issue. We were hoping that, given some time this morning, we'd be able to get her to a point where she'd be able to come and join us. She'd be competent to do so. The court has been gracious for a trial that's supposed to start at 9 o'clock. It's now 10 minutes to 11. And we appreciate the court's grace in allowing us to work with her and hopefully get her to the point where she can come and participate in her own trial. I must report to the court at this point that situation has not occurred. That she at this point is not able to participate in trial, given this medical situation. As a result of that, she's been basically, we've gone over a couple of options. One, ask to adjourn this case until a later date, but quite frankly, the situation that brought on this medical situation is oncurring and is part of the stress of being on trial. So the reality is we couldn't guarantee the court that as of Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday of next week that we'd be in a different situation than they are in right now. And in fact, for the record, I anticipate we'd be right back to where we are right now, even if we waited a few days to work on things. Given that situation, I explained to my client her options. She could come up to the courtroom on her own volition or with his assistance and participate in the hearing, or she could waive her right to be here and avoid this, and not avoid, but to not participate as we go forward. She has chosen the latter. She's chosen to waive her right to be here. She's requesting not to come back again. For this purpose, she is not requesting an iPad or any other aid to allow her to watch the proceedings from where she is. She is content to rest at this point and simply allow her legal team to go forward, representing her in this matter and concluding this particular trial. Therefore, I'm asking the court at this point to continue with the trial and without my client being present. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Johnson, my understanding too, as well as speaking to the deputies, I mean, as was asking, hey, what's going on with the progress, and they indicated that she had made some statements that she potentially could hurt herself. Is that correct? Your understanding?
I didn't hear them, but I heard those comments from a source that I rely on and have no basis to believe that's not accurate. And quite frankly, in conjunction with my experience with her this morning, I can see how she might have made those statements.
Okay, all right. So that was also a concern for the court as well. So, Mr. Roberts, any comments you wish to make on that?
Your Honor, the only thing I would ask, if we could at some point, and we don't necessarily have to do it right now, is because this is a critical stage of the proceedings, that we would have something at the time it becomes available, something in writing from her, waiving her right to be here. In terms of her not being present, we also have to address the fact that she did not answer the jurors' questions. I've indicated in chambers that while I certainly recognize that the court rules do allow for jurors to ask questions here, that it is certainly not been a practice for a very long period of time, just recently adopted by the Supreme Court as a practice, and that I would think we could proceed without her presence and without answering the jurors' questions. I think we have to address it in some fashion for the jurors so they understand that, and they're obviously smart enough to look over the table and see that she's not here. But I don't believe that would in any way cause her testimony to be stricken here or allow the jury, put the jury in a position where they're not allowed to at least consider the testimony that has been given. It's probably frustrating for them, but quite frankly, a few of those questions were questions that weren't going to be able to be asked anyway because of different legal reasons. So I don't think there's anything here that we need to do in terms of, besides addressing it to the jury, however the court sees fit, and getting it right at this point.
Okay, Mr. Johnson, any objection to proceeding without the jury questions being asked? I know that I told both attorneys in chambers. It's a little bit frustrating to me because I think we told the jury where they have an opportunity to answer questions and they're getting deprived of that opportunity. But Mr. Roberts is correct. It's a relatively new practice. Are you okay proceeding without having those questions asked to your client?
I am, Your Honor, and I amplify what Mr. Roberts has just said. There are some courts even in this building, who do not even allow questions at this juncture. So it is a relatively new process. It is a situation that's unavoidable. I think the court is justified in informing the jury that those questions won't be asked and then proceeding forward.
Okay. In terms of preference, Mr. Johnson, of what to tell the jury versus not tell the jury, my thinking, we could go as vague as, unfortunately, she's not available this morning. We could say she's had a medical emergency and she cannot be here. I guess it's, I don't want anything we say to the jury to potentially prejudice her, but I'll leave it to you for your input, what you would prefer from the court.
Your Honor, I think what the court has expressed here in this courtroom is appropriate, and what we've expressed in the chambers I have no, problems leaving the courts, I'm not gonna try to micromanage the things the court says, simply expressing that she can't be here. It's a medical situation. That's all we've asked for, and I think that's appropriate.
Okay, is that acceptable to you, Mr. Roberts?
I'd have to defer to the defense on this question anyway, Judge. So that's fine.
All right, anything before we bring the jury out?
Just briefly, Judge, with that, obviously then Mr. Johnson will formally need to rest his defense. I do anticipate calling Lieutenant Hooksman to the stand. We've discussed in chambers again, just to revisit the 2 video issue very briefly. I did suggest this morning that perhaps an adopted admission instruction could be given to the jury based on Ms. Vander Ark's testimony about the contents of the first video. I think we've all agreed that the better course here, especially with her not being able to come up and participate in the proceedings today, that Lieutenant Hooksman will just simply testify to that. She said multiple times if that's what the video shows, we'll just take some brief testimony from Lieutenant Hooksman. We will still continue with the previous ruling, the previous agreement that was made here that we will not play that video for the jury. And then do anticipate playing the second video that we've discussed, and that was kind of been planned all along. Introduce that through Lieutenant Hooksman, and that video plays about 18 minutes or so. Just to caution the folks in the gallery, there is no way to do this without projecting it on one of the monitors. I think the court's indicated that what it will do is raise the screen here. We'll project it on the TV so that only the jury can see these things, but the rest of the gallery certainly can see those things from the camera perspective. It won't be captured, but the members of the gallery can see that. It begins with an image because the camera is fixed directly at Timothy, deceased, in the closet. There's only a few seconds of it. I narrowed it down as much as possible, but there has to be some context for the jury so they understand. And the video starts within a few seconds of the defendant walking into that closet, and then what transpires from there is what is really the most relevant portion of that. But again, it's difficult to look at, it's difficult to see, and anyone that thinks that they are going to have a hard time with it, I would just suggest to them when we get to that point to exit the courtroom. But at a certain point, we can't pull the punches too much about what took place here, because these are terrible circumstances, and the jury, I think, needs to be afforded the opportunity to see what transpired and the basically 18 minutes that the defendant waited to call 911.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Roberts. Mr. Johnson, any objections to that?
No, Your Honor, I don't. And while we have an agreement, Mr. Roberts and I, as to the first video, the before video, there'll be descriptions of it. I'm not sure if Mr. Roberts is going to want an instruction as to why that video wasn't provided for the jury as well. I think that I wouldn't object to that. I think that's appropriate as part of our agreement, but he may have jurors sitting there saying, "Why didn't we get to see that one?" So if he wants an instruction, limited instruction for that, I would not have an objection to that either.
Okay, so yeah, what we're going to do is, and I forgot to tell Mr. Weaver this, so what we're going to do is we're going to have the shut off, so that specifically out of respect for Mr. Ferguson, although this TV is going to be angled toward the jury, and obviously it's in view of the gallery, I do not want it broadcast out of respect for him. So this TV will be going, but and as well as the witness. But again, I'm instructing those members of the media that are in the courtroom today, I do not want this video, including images of Mr. Ferguson and his deceased, to be broadcast. So with that, anything else before we bring the jury out, Mr. Roberts?
No, Judge.
All right, Mr. Johnson?
No, sir.
All right, please rise.
Gabby, I forgot about Pippi Longstocking. Did her braids come out? Like, did they stick out to the side? She's red, like orangish red hair, right? Also, if you're catatonic, are you movie catatonic? Like you don't say anything? That's how I'm thinking of it. Like in the movies. How's she answering the questions? How does she know what she wants? How do you know she knows? But she's catatonic. Maybe that's what maybe that's the look Shanda was going for. Also, I really want to know what the questions were that they asked. We're going to ask her, and we'll never find out.
All right, you may be seated. All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here on time. It's been a while. We've delayed you. As you'll notice, Miss Vander Ark is not present this morning. Unfortunately, she's suffering some medical distress this morning. The reason we've been delaying is we've been trying to alleviate that medical distress. And so the court was willing to wait a little bit while we did some other matters to see if she was able to be present. She is not. She certainly will not be present during this morning, and she may not be present for the rest of the trial. I don't know, but at least she's not here today. And again, it's not by court order. It's because, unfortunately, she's unable to be here because of a medical issue. So with that, we will continue the trial in her absence. Mr. Johnson, and that also, unfortunately, means that we will not be able to ask her your questions. It was my preference to have that happen, and I tried to get that to happen, but unfortunately, we will be unable to do that. So, Mr. Johnson, any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor, at this juncture, the defense rests.
Okay, Mr. Roberts, any rebuttal witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor. Would people recall 10 minutes?
Oh no, she didn't want the jury questions flash.
Please raise your hand. It's been an opinion. You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God. I do. And put your hand down. Grab a seat. You can just go ahead, please. Again, state your name for the record, spelling your first name and last name.
Lieutenant Joel Hoeksema, Joelhoeksema.
Lieutenant, I want to, let's just start off with, you brought People's Exhibit number 34 up to the podium there, or up to the witness stand with you there. That's the bottle of hot sauce. And you actually sees two of the same type of hot sauce from the residence. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's one of those bottles.
That's correct.
And you heard the testimony yesterday from Ms. Vander Ark, where she indicated that there was some discussion about ordering the hot sauce from Amazon because you couldn't find hot sauce she couldn't find hot sauce that Timothy didn't like, or something to that effect in Myers. Do you recall that?
I do.
Could you go ahead and read for the jury the label there for that hot sauce?
Elijah's extreme regret is screaming super hot. It packs the fire of the two hottest peppers in the world, the Trinidad Scorpion and Carolina Reaper peppers. Your tongue will burn from the sting of the scorpion. Your eyes will tear up as sweat pours off your head. Your throat feels the burn of the Carolina Reaper going down. The pain becomes unbearable, and you feel like you just ate a burning hot coal. That's when you realize extreme regret, not for wimpy hot sauce lovers. Use with caution, or you'll regret it.
Okay. Now, did you also hear the testimony yesterday from Ms. Vander Ark in regards to two videos that were actually obtained as part of the investigation into this matter?
I did.
And let's talk about that first video first. It sounded funny when I said it. Talk about the first video. That it's a video that actually shows Timothy Ferguson being brought into the small room, but brought into that closet just hours before he passes away. Are you familiar with that video?
I am.
And have you seen that video?
I have.
And we've made an agreement because of the sensitive nature of the video and its frankly graphic nature that's not going to be played for the jury. Is that your understanding?
That's correct.
I do want to unfortunately have to ask you some questions about it. So if you could just recall that video, and first of all, explain to the jury what camera that video was obtained from.
So we spoke earlier that we had seized several video cameras from the home. This specific camera was called a La Vue camera, and it was found originally during our the execution of the first search warrant right outside the door of the small room. Further into the investigation, it was discovered that there was a micro SD card within this camera that contained video files.
And that camera and the video that we're talking about, what does that what does it capture, at least in terms of an overview of where it's pointed?
So at the time those video files were generated by the camera, it was positioned within the small room in one of the corners, looking at Timothy when he was in there.
And you've had an opportunity again to review those, is that correct?
That's correct.
And at approximately 11 o'clock, 23:03 in military time, 11 o'clock or so, you observe Ms. Vander Ark on that video.
I do.
And what does she do?
On the video around that time that you mentioned, Ms. Vander Ark is observed placing a tarp into the closet and kind of spreading it out as a makeshift bed.
And after she does that, what happens after that?
After she lays the tarp on the floor, she is seen dragging Timothy by the arms onto the tarp and into the room.
And are you able to see Timothy's body at that point in time?
I am.
And what condition would you describe? How would you describe his physical condition at that point?
His eyes were open, but not really seeing anything. He appeared to be unresponsive. He didn't speak at all. He moaned a few times. It's very concerning watching that and seeing his appearance.
And you've also obviously had an opportunity to see both the photographs of Timothy at the scene as well after he was deceased and the autopsy photos. Did he appear substantially the same way that he appeared in those photographs as well?
He did. Very, very thin bones protruding. In particular, he wasn't wearing any pants, so I could see his hip bones and his knee joint very prominently displayed as she positioned him in front of the camera.
And did it appear that he was wearing a diaper?
He was wearing an adult diaper.
And you said that Ms. Vander Ark positioned him in front of the camera so that what was facing the camera, I guess?
His face was facing the camera. It was the primary focus of the camera, is to keep a view of his face.
And that camera also records audio, does it not?
It does.
And did it record any audio from Ms. Vander Ark as she was pulling Timothy into the closet and positioning him on the floor?
It did. I could hear Ms. Vander Ark tell Timothy that he is pathetic, and then adds, but I already knew that as she was dragging him in. She also makes a comment to him that you owe me the biggest apology in the world, and suggests that he wouldn't be able to leave the restroom or leave the room for restroom breaks unless she receives an apology from him.
And then did she leave the room at that point?
She does.
Did she come back a little while later?
I believe it was approximately 15 minutes later she comes back into the room.
And during that time period, though, are you able to observe Timothy on that video?
I do.
And does Timothy do something between the time that she leaves the first time and the time she comes back?
Initially, she had positioned him on his side with his face facing the camera. And over the period of about 15 minutes, he rolled onto his back. So his face was no longer visible.
When she comes back in the second time, what does she do?
She repositions him so his face is visible to the camera. She has one of her Great Danes come into the room and instructs the Great Dane to lick his face, trying to get what appeared to me trying to get a reaction out of him, and even makes a comment to the dog saying that, see, he reacted to you.
And so does the Great Dane, does the Great Dane stay in the room at that point or not?
It kind of steps over him, licks his face, investigates, and then eventually leaves the room after she provided the dog instructions to lick his face.
And what does she do at that point?
During this time, and previously while I observed Timothy in the room, he was taking short, shallow breaths through his mouth. Kind of picture how a fish out of water would breathe, with gasping for breath through their mouth. And she clamps his mouth shut, tells him that he doesn't need to breathe like that, and then holds his mouth shut for a period of time until he's forced to take breaths through his nose, and tells him, see, you didn't need to breathe through your mouth like that. You're being a dummy or an idiot, something along those lines.
And does she leave the room at that point?
She does.
And is that the last time anyone actually has any contact with Timothy in that room?
That's correct.
And you've had an opportunity, does that camera continue to record all through the night into the next morning?
It does.
Because this was about between 11 and 11:30 on July 5th, is that correct?
That's correct.
And so the camera records into the next morning, is that correct?
That is correct.
And you've had an opportunity to watch all of that video, is that my understanding?
Yes.
And at some point, does it appear that, and you're not a medical doctor, I understand that, but does it appear that Timothy actually passes away while in view of that camera?
Yes, it appears that way to me. He can be seen, his chest rising, lowering very slightly, small little movements, and then there is a point in time where you stop seeing that, and his body just kind of relaxes, and it appears to me that he has died at that point.
And does from that point on, is there any movement of his body until the next morning? Is there any movement of his body at all to indicate that he's moving or alive?
There is not. There is no more movement from his body from that point.
And we're going to now play for the jury the, you're aware that there was a recording that takes place later that morning, is that correct?
That's correct.
Starting around approximately 6:20 or so of that same camera, is that correct?
Yes.
And just give they'll be able to watch it and hear it, but what are we looking at initially when we see the video?
Initially, you'll see Timothy as he was positioned, and then you'll see Miss Vander Ark enter the room, and you'll see her reaction regarding finding him.
And
What I know to be deceased, but I don't believe she does at that time.
For the record, this would be People's 46. It's on a flash drive. It's pulled up on my computer, ready to go. So the jury understands I think the court's intention is to only play it through the monitor by the jury box. I think everybody can see that.
Can everyone see Mr. Weaver, can you maybe angle the TV out just a little bit?
He's probably going to want the lights dim too.
Yeah. I'll do it. I got it.
So just for you guys that weren't here earlier, we will not see this. And trust me, I don't think we want to. We can hear it. I think you'll probably be able to hear it better with earbuds, headphones, whatever they're called these days, because it is video of her and Paul finding Timothy. But again, we just hear it. Annabelle, that's a good one. You guys too young for Daddy Warbucks. Yeah, no worries. Or Flashman, sorry. No, we don't see anything. You can just hear Shanda and Paul talking to each other.
Mr. Roberts, are you connected to the?
I agree. I agree.
I think we'll just confirm that's not in view of the camera.
I don't believe so, no.
It can be pushed closer too, so.
What do you need? Wait.
Yes.
I said it can be pushed closer too, so.
If you're worried about it.
Oh, no, I've instructed him not to record it, so we didn't voice it. And then I'll worry about getting him on here.
I think they have to take a break. But I'm going to make sure, because I know this will shock you, but I think there's technical difficulties.
Lieutenant, is it on your screen?
There is nothing yet.
Okay, nothing yet, but you can see
Yes, I can see the
D.
normal screen that's been appeared.
Okay.
That's been on it.
He would be the very good twin. I've liked this officer. I know, Kelly. So I say lawyers and tech, right? A cartoon mega head. That's not nice.
I'm showing DA. If I do my phone, I can see it.
Okay. Give me a sec.
Or from the,
I think. Wait. All right. We're fast forwarding. I know, Kelly, it is very rare to not have tech issues. And the most that this trial had up until this point was audio, the audio issues.
all right, we're back on the record in 23110 FC, People versus Shanda Vander Ark. Looks like we have our technology issues fixed. Anything before we bring the jury out, Mr. Roberts?
Yes, Your Honor, just briefly, in the delay, we've actually been able to accomplish the written waiver of Ms. Vander Ark being present. So
Oh.
it's before the court now, that's signed and witnessed,
Oh.
signed by her, witnessed by Deputy Levine. So I think perhaps we admit that as a court's exhibit, would that be?
Yeah, that's fine. It could be the court's exhibit number 1. I'll have that admitted, part of the record.
No objection.
All right.
Otherwise, the technology issues are fixed. We're prepared to proceed.
Mr. Johnson, anything before we?
No, sir, thank you.
All right, please rise.
No, but there was probably some howling dogs. I've never heard a cat howl. Be funny. Gabby, you are in form today. I don't know which one I'd rather it be, Zach. Ow.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have our technology issues fixed, so you may proceed, Mr. Roberts.
Thank you. Again, for those in the audience that have not seen any of these images, this is not easy footage to watch.
I have it boosted as high as it will go, Gabby. And there's no CCs on this one. All right, guys, give me a second. We're trying to figure it out in chat to see if we can, or in my text chat, good grief, to see if we can share maybe at least better audio of it because people have it now. So give me a second. I'm looking. I don't know if I can share that one, Gabby. See you, Flashman. Let me grab. I saw you guys. Zach. Thank you for tomorrow. to more tomato talk. I can't even talk because there's too many T's in tomato talk. But thank you for the super chat and the tomatoes. And June, thank you for the super chat. What kind of tomatoes is Zach eating? Their own packaged, fresh, grown, or rotten? Ooh. Did he answer? Texas Cat, I saw you. And hello, Texas Cat. Thank you for being here. I don't know what she thought, what she was doing, and why she was surprised at the outcome of it. I know that's like really hard to hear, but the very beginning of this, Paul said, he's cold, Mom. Like, he's cold. And she said, she said something along the lines of, but he's not completely stiff yet. Like, Paul knew he was gone. And she was not giving up. And I don't know what she was thinking. I don't know if it hit her. I couldn't tell. If they let the dog, if Sharma was the dog at the time that she had in the house, and were they like complaining at Sharma for coming in there? See you, Zach. Like, you let her look, or him, or I don't know what Sharma was, but you had the dog lick his face the night he was literally dying to get a reaction out of him so you could say he was faking. I can't stand this. See, Annabelle. Hopefully we'll get this audio thing figured out. I don't want to get a copyright strike, because I don't know if I can. The one that Gabby sent me, I know would be good, but I don't know that he would let me use it without getting mad at me. And I don't know that the one Carmen sent isn't going to copyright strike me. I don't know what to do. But it's in the Discord. It's in my Discord. And you guys can join the Discord. It's, you don't have to be a member or anything like that. I know Gabby posted the link earlier, but I don't see it. But it is in the Discord. Just play the audio, but not the video. I have no idea. All right, I'm going to play this. If we have to go back and listen to it, we will. It's about over. We have about 12 minutes left of it, I think. If that long. Okay. I'm muting myself and unmuting myself. All right. How about we just give up on this part? Because I don't have the audio in that. What you sent me, Gabby, is the body cam footage. It's not this. It's not this audio. But you guys, she says, you're just staring at the screen. At the judge staring at the screen. So I thought we skipped this part. It's really bad. It's just them trying to revive him. It's not great. They don't. No, it's not the 911 body cam footage. Dare, if I didn't say hello, hello. Sorry. Oh my goodness. This is one of the worst things about this trial is this audio. I wish it was better. But no, this isn't the 911 body cam footage. This is the footage from inside their house on their security cameras. So it's not the 911 call, Gabby. So it's like security camera footage going through video coming through to the microphone. Like Ronnie said, it's going through like way too many things and I can't hear it. And I know if I can't hear it, you guys can't hear it because normally it's blasting my ears out. I can't tell if he's talking.
Before we break, Mr. Roberts?
No, I don't believe so. Actually, I should say there was one additional instruction that we requested. I think we'll get a copy of the final instructions or a draft of them, and then Mr. Johnson reviewed it. Was inferring intent was the instruction that was added.
Okay.
It's a standard instruction.
Yeah, we probably should talk about, do we want to do anything on the record regards to the lesser included that you're requesting, Mr. Johnson? You want to wait till after closes to do that?
We might as well make the record now, Judge.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, yeah, we could do it. So my understanding from our discussion in the chamber, Mr. Johnson, you're requesting instruction on a lesser included offense of involuntary manslaughter. Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay. And Mr. Roberts, your position on that?
Well, Your Honor, we've had some extensive discussions in chambers about that, and I think both sides have done some research into the issue. At this point, I am conceding the inclusion of the involuntary manslaughter instruction with the understanding that that also comes, I believe that's 1610 is the instruction on involuntary manslaughter. There are two theories available. One is the gross negligence theory. One is the intent to commit a harm, but essentially not the harm, the outcome intended. So I would ask that and I think Mr. Johnson wants to proceed under the gross negligence theory. That's under 16.18. So with the inclusion of 16.18, we have no objection to including involuntary manslaughter at this point.
Okay. Yeah, and just for the record, the court, in anticipation of this potential issue, there's a case, it's People versus Yeager, which is 511 Mish 78, which essentially indicates, it says the Mendoza court, referring to People versus Mendoza 468 Mish 527, says Mendoza court concluded that because both voluntary and involuntary manslaughter are necessarily included lesser offenses and inferior to murder under MCL 768.32, quote, when a defendant is charged with murder and an instruction for voluntary and involuntary manslaughter must be given if supported by a rational view of the evidence. And I think the parties are agreeing that it could be supported by a rational, which this court equates with reasonable view of the evidence. Is that correct, Mr. Roberts?
Yes, I'm not conceding that the defendant's view of this was rational, but yes, I can understand that a possible view of it. It certainly could be argued, I guess is the best way to say it, that rational view, yes.
Okay. So based on that, the court will give an instruction regarding involuntary manslaughter pursuant to a grossly negligent theory of defense.
And just to clarify, 16.21, the inferring state of mind is the request that we have for the jury to give the intent evidence.
Okay. So we'll have those modified and then have you guys come back 12:50. 5 or something like that. It'll be a short lunch, unfortunately, but
Okay.
do that. All right, we're adjourned.
I don't know why he would. I'm not a fan of lesser included. I don't know why he doesn't need it, like, in this one. Like, you don't need it. It's all. Hey Sharon, how are you doing? Hey AJ. Uh-oh, Gabby's rubbing off on you, Sharon. Be careful. Be careful. All right, so we are going to the state's closing. This is not going to be as long as I thought. Oh, yes, they do, old soul. I think they were out an hour.
Any additions or corrections you have?
Thank you.
All right, well, my intention after closings to go right into closing instructions. Any objection to that, Mr. Roberts?
No.
Mr. Johnson?
No.
All right, let's go ahead and bring him up. Mr. Weaver, please rise.
I know.
That could be true. Sometimes I think they stay that long, especially if it's a good lunch. Oh no, we've got the religious chickens, and I'm not gonna say that full name, man stuff, and the lesser included. Shanda got my video limited monetization from yesterday. Jerk.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll commence with closing arguments. Mr. Roberts.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, on behalf of the people of the state of Michigan, I want to thank you for your time and attention to these matters. As we've repeatedly indicated, and as now you've seen through the evidence and the testimony in this case, these are incredibly difficult, incredibly sensitive matters. And we certainly do thank you for your time and attention to them. I usually like to start closing statements in a homicide trial such as this by showing you a photograph. And that photograph is usually the victim in the case prior to their death. In this case, our victim was a child. Would hope to be able to show you a photograph of what he looked like within a few months of his death. I can't do that. I can't do that because the defendant apparently took it upon herself to make sure there were no photographs taken of the victim in the 6 months leading up to his death. An opening statement, I told you about that song. What's the matter here? And the line from that song, answer me and take your time. What could be the awful crime? Ask yourselves that. What was the awful crime that Timothy committed to have these atrocities perpetrated upon him? What did he do? He stole some food? He took some things apart? That's all I heard. And he paid for that with his life. And like I told you, I can't answer the why. I can't answer why the cold and lowly things were done to him, because it doesn't make sense. It does not make any sense that a 15-year-old should be made to suffer the way Timothy was, to be made a prisoner the way Timothy was. And make no mistake, he was a prisoner in that home. We give prisoners rights. Prisoners of war have rights. Timothy had none of those because the person charged with his care and custody refused them, kept him locked up in the basement of that home with motion sensors and alarms to make sure he didn't even go upstairs, let alone anywhere else, but not to even go upstairs. Alarms on his body to go off. He didn't like the noise. Motion sensors on the stairs if he tried to go upstairs. Alarms on his small room, closet, door if he tried to get out. Motion sensors if he put his arm down during a punishment. Cameras watching every moment. And at the heart of all of this, the defendant. That alone, ladies and gentlemen, is the basis for first-degree child abuse. The serious mental infliction of harm upon Timothy as a result of her actions is all you need to find that the defendant is guilty of first-degree child abuse. And that's the tip of the iceberg. Towards the end of Ms. Vander Ark's testimony yesterday, I kept pressing her on that question. What did he do? What is it that he was doing? Apparently so desperate for food that he ate frozen chicken nuggets and uncooked hamburger. Explain this to the jury so they can understand, so they can make sense of why it was that you chose to do these things to him. And she got mad at the end, towards the end of her testimony. It became clear that she was still mad at Timothy. He was sneaky and deceitful. Over and over again, he was sneaky and deceitful. He'd sneak things when he wasn't supposed to. He was deceitful. He would lie about things. And you heard over and over again in the text messages. He's lying about that. He's not going to get away with it. This is all fake. All of those things. So ask yourself this question. Who do we know was sneaky and deceitful here? The defendant. And it started when, after 18 minutes of her son being unresponsive and so obviously deceased, she finally decides to call 911. But she better get her story straight before we call 911. So what's the last thing she says before she calls 911 to Paul? We'll have to tell him he's been on a hunger strike. before that. Where's your belt? Put your belt on him. I want to make it look like he's been this way. No emotion in her voice, no tears. Start with, why does it take you 18 minutes to call 911? You saw the image. You saw Timothy laying there on the floor. You heard them repeatedly talking about how he was stiff, how he wasn't moving, how he wasn't breathing, how his eyes were fixed open, and they don't call 911. Who does that? How does a parent do that? Paul asked her, should we call 911? Should we call for an ambulance? Not yet. And it's almost another 10 minutes before she calls after that. Then when she calls 911, the lies start. I came to check on them at 5:30, and then when I completely false. We know he wasn't checked on at 5:30. We know the last thing that she did and said to her son. You could hear it in Lieutenant Hooksman's testimony today. The last thing she did to her son was to drag him into this small room, throw him down on the ground like he was a piece of meat on a tarp in the room where she says he wanted to be. That was his comfort. Positions him in front of the camera so she can see. Calls him stupid. Then when he has the indignity to roll over, no, that's not good enough. She comes back, positions him again in front of the camera, makes the dog lick his face to get a reaction from him, holds his mouth closed and said, see, dummy, you don't need to open your mouth to breathe. Imagine those being the last words you said to your child. So that's what it was. That's the last thing anybody said to Timothy. You don't need to open your mouth to breathe, dummy. Shut away in isolation after months and months of physical and mental abuse at the hands of the defendant. And Timothy slipped away. No, I went to check on him at 5:30. Lie. I have to put you on hold because I have to pull him off the bed. Lie. He's been on a hunger strike for the last couple of weeks, but I was just about to call a doctor. Lie. Then the lies continue. Officer Peasky, Detective Peasky, interviewing the defendant. Why is there a lock on the fridge and the freezer? He's got access. The locks are on the fridge and the freezer because he would leave the door open, but he has access to the pantry. Lie. Text messages over and over again talking about how he was able to get into the pantry and her repeated commands to Paul, starting in February, to make sure that all the food is locked up and Timothy doesn't have access, including the pantry. Yesterday on the stand, that shifts into, well, he did have access to a small cabinet where there were some canned goods. So this boy who was dying of emaciation, we're supposed to believe that he's going to have the ability to go into a cabinet to get canned goods, get a can opener, open them, and cook himself some food. Well, we know that's not true. He's not allowed to have food. He can't do that. The only thing you can hear in these text messages that he's allowed to have for those last few weeks after the June 13th photograph, which we'll get to in a minute, is the bread with hot sauce. Did you hear any testimony from her about full meals that she would cook for him? Anything? No. What's her response when she gets sent the picture? He's too, Mama, we need to actually feed him. That's the phrase. We need to actually. He's bone thin, Mama. I think honestly, we need to actually feed him. And what's our response? Give him bread. Give him bread with peanut butter. The unresponsiveness is probably fake, but I see what you mean. Yesterday, she wants you to believe I didn't see that photograph. She literally uses the word see in her text message. I see what you mean. And then tries to split hairs about what that phrase means. Let's assume she didn't see the photograph for just a moment. Your child is so alarmed that he's saying he's bone thin. I think we actually need to feed him. And your first response is give him bread. What does that tell you about her mindset? Her mindset is that's what he gets to eat. He gets bread, maybe some peanut butter. That's what he gets to eat. Not the canned goods that he can get access to under the cabinet. And heaven forbid he commit the crime of sneaking a piece of candy or eating some frozen chicken nuggets. Give him bread. Detective Peasky. Well, after the stroke, he went on a hunger strike. That was a lie. Paul told you it was a lie. He never went on a hunger strike. There isn't a single reference here to him being on a hunger strike in January or in July. The bigger binder, more of the text messages, just about Timothy. All of the text messages, just about Timothy. I gave her the option yesterday. I said, show me the text about the hunger strike. You're so concerned about everything. You're so concerned about watching the cameras, setting the alarms, making sure the food is what it's supposed to be, making sure he's running stairs, doing wall sits, getting cold baths, all of that stuff. Show me in here where you're talking about him being on a hunger strike. No. The hunger strike thing isn't real. And think about it for just a moment. If your child was on a hunger strike, what would you do? I know what I'd do. Remember, we talked about reason and common sense. What's the reasonable thing to do? Get your child to a doctor. Get your child to a therapist. Get your child to something. But what does she actually do? The first set of text messages we hear? The first text message, February 18th. So this would be on or about the time of that first hunger strike. First, rude. And second, why are his hands free? That's where we're starting. Why are his hands free? Because he's a human being. And what did he get into that he felt he needed to brush his teeth to hide it? I think most parents would be ecstatic about their child actually brushing their teeth. I know I am, and my kids do it. But to her, him brushing his teeth is a sign that he's hiding something. Sorry, didn't know he was up. What do you mean you didn't know he was up? Has he not been upstairs against the wall? So he's supposed to be against the wall. No. What? Why the heck not? What the heck has been going on? Check the brownies in the kitchen. Check everything not locked away. Check where the flipping keys have been. This is in February. We're not even talking about the last couple of weeks that Timothy's alive. This is in February. And she's already started talking about locking away food. Five months before Timothy dies, and she's talking about restricting his access to food. Hunger strike? No. She realized late last night that he was thin, threatened to take him to the ER if he didn't eat. We know what she did to him last night. She wasn't remotely concerned about his physical appearance. Make no mistake, she could see his physical appearance because she dragged him into the closet, and Lieutenant Hooksum had described to you in unfortunately vivid detail. And the images are horrifying, truly horrifying. But you've seen the photos of what he looked like when he died. And that was hours before. A mother dragging her child into a room, throwing him down on the ground. Does that sound like I realized last night he was ill? And I threatened to take him to the ER if he didn't eat? So I made him a piece of toast with butter on it? She even admitted that was a lie. Said he was done after he ate the toast, went downstairs. He couldn't even move at that point. You heard Dr. DeYoung's testimony about what happens to the body as it breaks down, as it goes through these stages of malnutrition. 69 pounds. The average, and he was average height, the average 15-year-old male is 132 pounds. He was 62 pounds underweight. And we saw what he was like 3 weeks before. Make no mistake, she saw what he was like 3 weeks before. She got ready for work in the morning and went to check on him. No, that's not true. But it's interesting that she mentions getting ready for work. Because on that video, you can hear her. And she's been working on Timothy for a number of minutes at this point in time. And she says, well, I guess I'm going to be late for work, but we've got to get him responsive. Talk about cold. I guess I'm going to be late for work. Your child is dead. And all you can think about is being late for work? She had to have Paul help him get off the bed. Lie. On a hunger strike 2 weeks ago. Lie. There'd no pictures of Timothy since January. That was true. And then when the detective starts to ask about the unusual things in the house, what leg shackles? What are these leg shackles for? Oh, those are Paul's leg shackles. Now bear in mind, this is hours after this has taken place. And it's just lie after lie after lie. How do we know it's a lie? May 18th, the Wisely transaction is handcuffs and leg cuffs for Timothy from Amazon. Figured it would be okay to get those right away so we can talk about the sensors and stuff. That's her text message. The handcuffs and leg cuffs for Timothy. Well, I would never use them on Timothy. June 27th, he's moved around, so he got the cuffs in front of him instead of behind him. So he's handcuffed behind his back. I put the cuffs back behind him. Her. I put the cuffs back behind him. I will have to deal with less than 2 hours of sleep today, but not letting him get away with this BS. June 27th. That's 2 weeks after the photograph goes to her, showing how thin he is, and he's handcuffed behind his back by her. Could this be any more about her? Could this text message show you any more how this was all about her? I will have to deal with less than 2 hours of sleep today, but not letting him get away with this BS. It's all about her. Fell out of bed at 5:30. Nope, never happened. Never went to check on him. The last thing you said to your child was, you don't have to breathe with your mouth open, dummy. Oh, there's alarms on that room down there because we had the sewing stuff in there. The cameras were in the home because Gabriel would strip down naked and wander around. Maybe a camera was in there for that. But she doesn't care about wandering around naked. You heard the text messages. Timothy had to clean the garage with nothing on below his waist and then stand against the wall with nothing on below his waist. He had to earn his right to get clothes back. She doesn't care if her kids are running around the house naked. It's a form of punishment for her. Doesn't restrict his movement with shackles. Another lie. Now, Ms. Vander Ark was up here yesterday for quite some time. And she told you about what an intelligent lady she is, and I will give her that credit. She is a highly, highly intelligent lady. It takes a lot to finish second in your class in law school, graduate, magna cum laude. It takes a lot to get a score of 182 and pass the bar exam. Heck, it takes a lot to just pass the bar exam, let alone get a score of 182. So this is a highly intelligent woman we're dealing with. She clerked for not one, but two different judges, was clerking for a judge at the time her child died. Yet she wants you to believe that she doesn't remember any of this. Can't remember any of these things. I don't remember that text message. I don't remember doing that. I don't remember saying that. Every time she's confronted with something that she did or something that she directed to be done to Timothy, she can't remember. How does this woman hold down a job as a legal clerk? If your memory problems are that bad that you can't send these text messages, how are you not seeing a therapist? How are you not on medication to address these issues? You couldn't hold down a job if you were that, let alone a job as a legal clerk, if you had that many memory problems. Let's talk about the things that she can remember. Oh, right after Mother's Day, he weighed 104 pounds. And I asked a couple times, 108 pounds? No, 104 pounds. Absolutely certain about that. Somehow she can remember 2 months before Timothy dies, what he weighed. That's a detail that she can remember. The bad things? No, can't remember any of that. That's the detail that she can remember. How self-serving is that? That you can only remember the good things and you can't remember the bad things. And 3 weeks later, that's how he looks. Does that look like 104 pounds? Sure doesn't look like it to me. There isn't a single text message in here or in there, the larger binder, where she says, what are we doing? I don't understand why we're doing these things. Why are these things happening? Why is Timothy on a camera? Why is Timothy in handcuffs? Why is Timothy locked away in a small room? If she has all these memory issues, where are those text messages? Where are the memory issues in here? She knows everything that she wants to have done, and she's telling Paul day after day after day what to do to Timothy. Not struggling to remember what it is, not struggling to remember what it is that Timothy had done to be punished in this way. Not struggling with any of that. She doesn't have memory problems. She might have chosen at this point to block those things out from her memory. But make no mistake, all of these things happened. She did all of these things. It's only now that suddenly she has a memory issue. So stressed out, so much stuff going on. Not so much stuff going on that you can't spend half of your time at work, especially in those last couple of days, just watching the camera. Watching while Timothy's in the bathtub for hours on end the day before he dies, telling Paul to pour more cold water on him, telling Paul to take a pizza roll. Take a pizza roll, warm it up, hold it in front of his face and see if he reacts, but be ready to snatch it away if he tries to eat it. This is supposedly when he's on a hunger strike. And you're going to bait him with food? She did all of these horrible, horrible things. And she doesn't get to hide behind saying, I just don't remember doing them. Or I didn't intend for Timothy to come to any harm. Of course she intended for Timothy to come to harm. Of course she did, ladies and gentlemen. No rational person, no person who can score 182 on the bar exam, let alone any other individual, no parent, nobody with the logic and reasoning skills that she has could not understand the consequences of what she was doing. I didn't intend for any of this to happen. We don't even know if that's true. It's not. But we couldn't even say that that was true anyway. She can barely even say that because by her account, she doesn't remember doing any of these things. For all we know, she did intend for all of these things to happen, which of course she did. And remember we talked about the cookbook in voir dire. Went over it a couple of times. Unless you hear a defense from the judge in these instructions that says, if you find that the defendant just doesn't remember these things, that she can be found not guilty, she doesn't get the benefit of that. Don't add to the cookbook. Don't give her a defense that I just don't remember doing these things. I hope on some level, maybe she doesn't remember these things because they are so cold. They are so lowly. They are so dangerous that they took Timothy's life. Sleep deprivation, no clothes, hot sauce. You heard the description of the hot sauce today. Oh no, that was Paul's idea. The hot sauce was Paul's idea. Paul's text to her, July 2nd, 3 days before Timothy dies. So apparently this hot sauce isn't just Carolina Reaper, it's also Trinidad Scorpion chili pepper. Her response, yep. She knew what it was. She went out of her way, whether it was her or whether it was Paul at her direction, or the two of them doing it together, out of her way to find a hot sauce that would be too much for him to take. Let's set aside the logic for just a moment that how is it that you decide you're going to punish a child with hot sauce if the child likes hot sauce? It's ridiculous. That's the form of punishment? Of course not. That doesn't make any sense. Again, common sense. Don't check it at the door. He didn't like hot sauce. You know he didn't like hot sauce because they wouldn't be using it for a punishment if he liked it. This is July 2nd. This is weeks after this photograph is taken and sent to her when she can see how thin he is. Hot sauce. Hot sauce on bread. 4 slices with hot sauce. 4 slices, as long as there's plenty of hot sauce on it. Then if he waits 30 minutes, he can have some without hot sauce. So his reward for eating 4 slices of bread with hot sauce on it is if he can wait 30 minutes, he can have 4 regular pieces of bread. 30 seconds after she sends that text, she talks about getting chicken nuggets and fries for G. She can process all of this in her head. Whoop, punishment, hot sauce, Timothy, whoop, fries, chicken nuggets for G. That doesn't sound like somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. That doesn't sound like somebody who has memory issues. That doesn't sound like somebody who's not in control of their actions. She's in control of everything. She is watching everything. She knows everything. Even when Paul is supposed to be watching. She's watching as well and critiquing how well Paul is doing watching. He's with Timothy at the tub, and she's watching to make sure that Timothy doesn't look too comfortable in the tub. Move his head. Looks like he's trying to get comfortable. Pour some cold water on him. Do the pizza roll thing. Somehow as an act of grace, mercy, whatever you want to call it. Go ahead and give him 2 pizza rolls, and I don't care if they're frozen. It's difficult to understand how a person can be so detached to another person, let alone a child. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the people's position in this case that the defendant is guilty of 2 crimes. That first crime is first-degree child abuse. In order to prove the crime of first-degree child abuse, I do have to prove the following. First, that Shanda Vander Ark is the parent of Timothy Ferguson. That goes obviously without question. Second, that the defendant either knowingly or intentionally caused serious harm and or serious mental harm to Timothy Ferguson. By serious physical harm, I mean any physical injury to a child that seriously impairs the child's health or physical well-being, including but not limited to brain damage, skull, bone fracture, subdural hematoma, subdural hemorrhage, dislocation, sprain, ankle, internal injury, poisoning, burn, scald, or severe cut. She killed him. She starved him to death. She directed that he be in an ice bath for hours at a time. What was her story yesterday about the ice bath? Well, they didn't start off as ice baths. Okay, so they started off with cold water. No, they started off with hot water. Well, why would you put ice cubes in a hot bath? And how is that a punishment? then confronted with the text, again, don't remember. Let him know that if he tries to sleep at all, sleep deprivation, he'll get another ice bath. There's been one before, sometime before you leave for work, and another when I get home. That's the description about 3 ice baths in one text message. I said, you wouldn't make up additional ice and put it in the freezer, would you? Because you needed it for later. No, we wouldn't do that. Might want to toss the ice that is made into some Ziploc bags in the freezer tomorrow, or if we need a bunch more. You heard Dr. DeYoung's testimony. Timothy had signs of hypothermia. How does a 15-year-old in Michigan in July get hypothermia? Sitting in an ice bath for hours upon hours upon hours at a time. And that's what Timothy went through on the last day of his life. Tortured with a pizza roll that he could eat. Cold water repeatedly dumped on him. Repositioned if he started to feel comfortable. And she's watching everything. She's directing everything. Serious mental harm. I mean, any injury to a child's mental condition that results in visible signs of an impairment of the child's judgment, behavior, ability to recognize reality, or ability to cope with the ordinary demands of life. That's a no-brainer. The level of mental harm inflicted on Timothy is difficult to grasp. How a 15-year-old already with special needs, sensory, the sensory issue that she described, she's punishing him with hot sauce. She's punishing him with ice baths. She's punishing him with alarms that make noise that affects his ears. She's depriving him of sleep. She's depriving him of movement. She's depriving him of clothes. She's locking him in a closet. If that's not serious mental harm, then I don't know what is. And again, these are all at her direction. And don't let her off the hook, ladies and gentlemen, just because she stood up here and said yesterday, I didn't intend for these things to happen. Of course you intended for these things to happen. Of course you intended for these things to happen. She's guilty of first-degree child abuse. It's also the people's position that she's guilty of first-degree felony murder. If you find that she's guilty of that first-degree child abuse, you turn to the analysis of the murder charge here. And in order to prove first-degree murder, 2 sheets at once. First, that the defendant caused the death of Timothy Ferguson. That is, Timothy Ferguson died as a result of starvation and or physical abuse, physical neglect and abuse. You heard Dr. DeYoung's testimony about the cause of death for Timothy here, and all you needed to do was look at the photograph to see how he died. And again, I wish I could have spared everybody from seeing those photographs, but I can't, because I have to prove, and this is why, I have to prove how he died. The defendant has one of these 3 states of mind. She intended to kill, she intended to do great bodily harm to Timothy Ferguson, or she knowingly created a very high risk of death or great bodily harm, knowing that death or such harm would be the likely result of her actions. Let's talk about that first one for a moment. She intended to kill. I wish I could stand up here and tell you that I think she actually didn't have the intent to kill. I wish I could do that, because the notion that you could starve a child to death intentionally over months and months, which is what it would take, I wish she didn't have that intent. I wish I didn't believe that she had that intent. And it's for you to decide whether or not she had that intent. But her actions sure show that she had that intent. If she wanted to kill Timothy, I wish she'd done it a lot faster than what she did. Because what he would have had to have gone through in those last few days or few weeks is unthinkable. But she had that intent to kill him. At a minimum, she had an intent to do him great bodily harm. And you can find either one. And even if you had struggled with finding that, she knowingly created a very high risk of death or great bodily harm, knowing that death or such harm would be the likely result of his actions. She made a situation so dangerous, so obviously dangerous to anyone, especially someone of her intelligence level, that death or great bodily harm was the likely result. Well, death was the result. Death was the result because of what she did to him, because of the things that she directed to be done to him. On the stand yesterday, she tried to say, well, some of this was Paul's idea. Paul did this, and Paul did that, and Paul did this, and Paul did that. If you need to, feel free to review these text messages. If you want, you can review the bigger binder of text messages, because these are all about Timothy as well. And when I say they're about Timothy, they're not about Timothy, all the good things that he's done, all the good things we're going to do. It's all about the punishments. This is a small window. This is a larger window into the life, to the hell that Timothy's life was for the last 6 months. Every step of the way, her directing, her telling, her ordering, her threatening Paul to do the things. This was not on Paul. I told you in opening that you may not like Paul Ferguson. And I do believe that he is also in part responsible for Timothy's death here. But you had an opportunity to see Paul testify here. Did that look like the mastermind behind this? Or did that look like, as he put it, somebody who was just desperate for attention, desperate for the love of his mother, and doing the things that she wanted him to do? That's for you to decide. But I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, that's what it was. That Paul was doing what she told him to do, because he knew what was going to happen to him if he didn't do those things. Quite simply, ladies and gentlemen, as I've said, this is a case of first-degree felony murder. The underlying felony being first-degree child abuse. That's the other element that you need to find happened here, that she committed that felony first-degree child abuse. And if you find those two things, if you find that she committed the first-degree child abuse, and that she had one of those three states of mind, and it doesn't matter which one you decide, but if she had any one of those three states of mind as it related to Timothy, then she's guilty of first-degree felony murder, she's guilty of first-degree child abuse. Ladies and gentlemen, Timothy Ferguson, to the defendant, had ceased to be a person. Timothy Ferguson had become less than the animals that she trains. You heard her say it would never occur to her to do the things that she did to Timothy to the animals that she trains, to the dogs that she trains. He was less than a dog to her. And this was a fight that he was not going to win. But don't take my word for it. Of course, I had it then. July 29th. And even if he sits up right before you get there, as you get there, I honestly don't care if you get a little rough with him. July 29th again. Trust me, I know he's thin. That being said, he told me a week and a half ago that he wanted to be thin to make me feel bad for punishing him. This is supposedly when he's on his hunger strike. You don't get to grump at him for that, though. I already let into him for it. Cleaning up the rooms, directing Paul to make sure that he cleans up the rooms. And please check the carpet to see if it needs to clean that too. There's some different awesome cleaner for the carpet that he can use if he needs to. He will need to use a different green and yellow sponge for that. I do not want him using my nice sponges for either of those. July 1st, after the photograph that she's got. Might be best if you give him like 4 pieces of bread to eat before he starts work, just to make sure he stands up while he eats them, please. That way he has no excuses. July 1st, the camera in his room needs to Be picked up, please. Lots of hot sauce for that. What do I do if he doesn't finish within the assigned that photograph? So apparently this hot sauce isn't just Carolina Reaper, it's the Trinidad Scorpion chili pepper. Yep. Why? Under falling last night. Of course, so I decided to prove once again how fake it is. I asked him if he would stop doing that, if he would eat a whole pizza by himself, and he said yes, of course. And then I told him how obvious it was that he was being fake, and he had just proven that yet again. And of course, he just looked down and didn't respond. Can't say it any more blunt than she does. She was not going to let Timothy win. Plain and simple. And if that many died, then many died. He dies, she kicks into survival mode and starts to lie to the police. That alone evidences a guilty state of mind, ladies and gentlemen, but you don't need that. You don't need much more than these text messages to prove that Shanda Vander Ark is responsible because she intended to kill, because she intended to do great bodily harm, or she at least created a situation so dangerous that death or great bodily harm was a result to her child, Timothy Ferguson. And I will ask you to return a verdict of guilty of first-degree felony murder, first-degree child abuse. Thank you.
Mr. Roberts. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Everybody ready? You need a moment? You all good? Okay. I'm a child of the late 50s and grew up in the 60s and 70s, and during that period of time and even the 80s and 90s, when you remember something, it was in your head. It was something that was up here and a memory was up there, and that's where the memories were. That's where we kept them. And it was a great system because they were all there. And if called upon to respond to a memory or a situation, an issue, the entire memory and its context will come coming out. Then we started doing something in the aughts and the 10s and the 20s, where we started having these devices called cellular phones. And in those cellular phones, they have this thing on them called text messaging, where you can write down whatever's going through your head at the moment and send it. It's a great system. I mean, let's face it, we all use it because it works, and it works well, and it's very utilitarian, and we love it. But I think if we had a chance to think about it, we'd all admit that what you text isn't everything that's going on. That what you text doesn't tell the whole story. The text you sent today don't tell the whole story of your whole day. Just tell a portion of it. They tell a snippet. They tell a story. But they probably don't tell what happened to you from the time you got up and you couldn't find your left shoe to the time you're going to go to sleep tonight and wishing you had an extra slice of that pie for dessert. It doesn't tell you all that stuff, right? It tells you a snippet. It tells you a bit. It doesn't tell if you're mad or you're kidding or you're suggesting or you're tired or you didn't spell check before you sent it. So it says go when you want to say goat. It doesn't tell any of that stuff. It tells you a snippet. It tells you a portion. It tells you a particle. And that's what text messages do. The greatness of text messages are they're great. It's in the message. The weakness of them is they don't tell the whole story. And if someone were to grab someone's phone and look and try to figure out what they were thinking based on their text, they'd know that snippet, but they wouldn't know I'm venting. They wouldn't know. I don't take this serious. I don't mean this seriously. They wouldn't know that even though I'm mad at you, I still love you, because that the part in the text is going to be, you didn't clean your room? And that's it, because that other part isn't with it. The other part, our communication, even when I speak to you right now, our communication is the words that come out of my mouth are only about 35% of what your information you're taking in. You're looking at the situation that fills in the other information that you're going to need to have in order to figure out, with the most powerful computers that known to man, our brains, what I really mean and what I'm really saying. If you have all you have is a text, ladies and gentlemen, it's like watching a movie with no picture. All you hear is the voices in the background. Somebody has to explain to you what else is going on in that scene. That's what we have here. We have a series of texts. We have a series of texts that people can select and jump around in terms of not just times and dates and times of day, and without reflection on the circumstances. You're at work, you have time to send a 3-second text before the judge calls you and says, come do something else. Or you're sitting in your living room, you're reading a book, and you can take your time with these texts. It doesn't tell you any of that. So what comes out to you is a distorted picture. My suggestion, someone takes your text, what comes out to you is a distorted picture. That is not the whole story. It's not the whole situation. It doesn't tell the whole thing. All the texts that you've written do not tell you the whole story of your life. It tells you what they refer to that moment, and that's it. And the rest has to be inferred. If someone comes along and takes it out of context, and takes it out of circumstances, and it takes it out of where it existed at the time you sent it, you have a different story than what was intended. The communication you're getting is different than what you intended. That's problem number one. Problem number two is when you take those texts and you back them up with somebody who's highly motivated to lie. Ladies and gentlemen, they didn't have supercomputers back when they invented the theory of relativity. But Einstein, he didn't have a supercomputer. They hadn't been invented yet. What Einstein used to do famously, he used to call them thought experiments, where he'd imagine a situation and then he tried to think his way through. He was pretty good at it. He kind of changed life on the planet doing this. He kind of changed life on the planet. Now, you've been told that Paul's deal was that he had immunity from prosecution for whatever he talked about, and he'd get a sentencing recommendation or something like that. And there was one other thing, I forget, it doesn't matter. There's 3 things you were told him. He's charged with child endangerment, child abuse in the 1st degree. Okay. And you were told that by our judge that you can believe all of what he says or what somebody says or none of what somebody says. You were told that was Paul's deal. I'm going to invite you to it. And that Paul could be charged with 1st degree murder, which Paul told you from the stand. I asked him, do you know what the penalty for that is? I sure do. He could be charged with 1st degree. Now, I want you to do this thought experiment. You're a lawyer. You're Paul's lawyer in this thought experiment of my making. And the prosecutor calls you and say, I want to use your client to testify against his mom. And you say, okay. And then you have the client testify. And then he testifies, he does everything he's required to do, everything he wants, they want it, he gives them, everything he could, he gives them. And then at the end, once he's done testifying, his lawyer finds out they've charged his client with 1st degree murder anyway. After all, that wasn't part of the deal, right? He could be charged with 1st degree murder. Paul could be, theoretically, it's not part of the deal, could be charged with 1st degree murder, even though he's fully performed. What would, in this thought experiment, what would your reaction be? That you sent your client in, he did everything he was told, and he still gets charged with 1st degree murder. Might I suggest to you that you might be a little upset with that? Might I suggest to you that if you were informed that after Paul has performed and you're his lawyer and he's still getting charged with first-degree murder, that you're going to be upset. And I further suggest that you're going to tell everybody, you're going to tell all of your defense friends, all your defense lawyers, you're going to tell them, this is what they did to me. When do you think the prosecutor is going to get another defense attorney to serve their client up again? If you do that, when do you think they're going to get another defense attorney in this county and be a thought experiment to serve a charge in the circumstances like we described? Well, you know what the answer is. You know what the answer is. In your thought experiment, you can figure out this is what is not going to happen. Because you know what's going to happen when the defense community is going to find out what happened with Paul and his testimony. Did what he's supposed to, still got charged with first. He's not going to be able to get, the prosecution is not going to get another defense attorney to come forward and give up their client again. All right. This is part of something that's obvious, and it doesn't have to be. Everybody, if you do the thought experiment, it's not in writing, but you can do the thought experiment. First-degree murder. You can bet your house that Paul's deal is not his immunity. Paul's deal is that no first-degree murder. That's his deal. Paul is highly motivated to tell you the story that will keep him from getting that charge. And he did. Read his own text. I've never wanted to beat up somebody more in my life. Paul's the one who kicked in the door. Paul's the tormentor. Paul is the guy who's not only, Paul testified against his mom. Paul tortured his brother. That's who Paul is. And Paul ain't gonna be charged with first-degree murder. I don't care what the deal is. I think that should be obvious. So you've got the two bigs. You've got these text messages that give you a false and misleading representation of what people are thinking. You've got Paul sitting here talking for his life. Talking his butt off. He's trying to get out from under. At one point, he just ended all so you could get out of this thing. And he said, yes, I did. That's who Paul is. Paul's also the nexus of information for my client. Yes, my client, he told my client one time that he thinks he's thin, we should feed him, but on another time, in fact, right before his death, Paul says, no, he's fine. Paul is the nexus of information. If you have those cameras, these security cameras in your home, you recognize those are great devices. And generally speaking, they do the job. But the kind of detail, the kind of vision that you need, you really need Paul there to augment that so that you get a full picture of what's going on. And Paul was there. And he was providing for my client. Third factor. I got a client that forgot everything. She forgot her name, if you were asked. She forgot everything. Okay. When Mr. Roberts was given his open, and quite frankly, I've been doing this for 35 years. That's one of the finest openings I've ever heard. It was just wonderful. It was those kinds of things that lawyers appreciate because it was so well crafted and so well delivered. And he even gave you some poetry, and I'm no poet. I can't match that. I look for stuff, but I can't find anything like he did. It was just a wonderful opening. What I got for you is a little bit of physics. 20 years ago, 30 maybe, I read that the smallest bit of matter theoretically possible to exist in the universe would be about 2/100,000th of a billionth of a millimeter. And it would be a thing. It'd be two-dimensional. It'd be a thing that's so high energy that it could only exist for a brief moment in time. It comes, exists, and it pops out of existence. I read that 30 years ago. I couldn't tell you the first name or last name of any people in this panel right now. It's not because it's not important. It's because that's the way memory works. I couldn't tell. That's the way memory works. It is not a logical construct where you remember things that you're supposed to, but you can forget the things you don't. Memory remembers what it wants to remember. Now you can do techniques and training to do, and if something say is say someone that causes a lot of adrenaline or something that burns the memory into you remember that. You remember when your child was born, because that's the sort of situation it is. But otherwise, memory has its own mind, and it remembers what it wants and it forgets what it wants. And to say, well, she didn't remember these things. Well, yeah, she probably doesn't. You know, we talked about, and to use Mr. Roberts' example. One moment, my client is talking about getting fries for the younger child, but getting hot sauce for the older child. And he talks about compartmentalizing. The brain is a sophisticated organism, it's a sophisticated panel. It will organize things according to whatever parameters that are there, but it will separate things out. And it is my argument. The argument we make from the very beginning is that while part of her knew she was punishing this boy, none of her knew that she was hurting him. I understand. There's two possibilities. One, she's exactly what Mr. Roberts said, and that's evil. That's evil. Or the other possibility is there's something going on and she doesn't understand. She didn't understand, despite all the intelligence, she didn't understand the ultimate consequence of those individual acts of punishment. The accumulated force and power and weight of those individual acts of punishment. She didn't understand it. She didn't see it. I don't know how that could be. But to be honest with you, that's what makes sense. It makes sense because this is her son. And and she raised other children, her own flesh and blood. She raised them and didn't do this sorts of things. Something was going on where she didn't understand it. This child was probably the highest needs. She didn't understand it. And her personal situation also makes a difference. Look, she took this child in when she wasn't supposed to have him because there was no other choice. So she did it. She raised another child. Paul has special. Paul's 20 years old and living at home with mom and working minimum wage. This is what Paul's doing. She has other child, and she has the demands of judges and lawyers, and she has the demands of education and the demands of ambitions, and her husband gets a stroke. These all make a difference. That's why I'm talking about context. Giving 4 slices of bread with hot sauce on it doesn't talk about, she's thinking about her husband. The impact is how she's going to pay rent. How she's going to get to work tomorrow. There's no gas in the car. These are all things that are going. There isn't a situation where she's sitting there just thinking about this one problem. She has too many problems to think about one. She's thinking about them all at a time. And pressure busts a pipe. It was too much. She didn't hate her child. That's what it would have taken to knowingly do this to your child. She would have to hate him. A child makes you angry. A child makes you frustrated. A child makes you tired. A child is willful. And and she wasn't able to cope with it. And she didn't add it up. The bread plus the water plus the standing against the wall. She didn't add it up. And the mind is a powerful thing. She didn't see what we all saw. But let me. So This woman who doesn't love her son, according to the people, comes into a room and she says, Timothy, please, no. Wake up. Come on, buddy. No, 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 no. This can't happen. Is he okay? Is he okay? He's not stiff. Please, baby, come on. Open his jaw for me. Please, come on. Come on, buddy. You're okay. Come on, buddy. Come on, Timothy. I don't understand. To which Paul says, I don't either. Come on, buddy. Come on, sweetie. Come on, buddy. Come back to us. Come on, buddy. Come on, buddy. Come on. Does she get scared of that? Yeah, and lie to please. Hell yeah. A lot. Because like Paul, she can see it now. Now, she doesn't have to do the math. The math is the body of her dead son. And they can both see it now. But as they were going through it, folks, they didn't see it. I don't think at the moment that they find the body and they says, I don't understand. And Paul says, I don't either. They were faking it for the camera or faking it for the police. They forgot all about the damn camera. They said those things because that was true. It's what you do in those moments of high stress. It's true. I didn't get this. I didn't see this coming. How could you not? They didn't. They didn't see it. Neither one of them saw it. Paul talked about, in his few moments of clarity, I love my brother. I wish it was me instead of him. And that's how, did he start feeling that way afterward? Or did he feel that way at the time? If he felt that way at the time, how could he do these things? Because he didn't know he was doing these things. You see where I'm going? How could he feel? I repeat, he said he'd give his life for his brother if he could. Question is, did he feel that way at the time he was doing these things to him? Well, how could he do those things to him if he felt that way? Because they didn't see it. These people committed manslaughter. That's what they did. They caused this boy's death, but they didn't intend it. That's simply it. We're asking that you, when you do your deliberations, that you consider that. I understand those papers look like. I understand they look like. I understand that everybody here wants justice for Timothy. I get that too. Justice is the conviction of a person for what they did, not for what they made us angry about, not what they made us sick about, not what they made us want to jump over that railing and take care of this thing ourselves. That's not what justice is. Justice is, this is what you did, and this is what you pay for. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Mr. Roberts.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Because I do bear the burden of proof in this case, I do get one more opportunity to address you. And I want to start by thanking Mr. Johnson for his compliments here. We tried a number of cases together over the years, and it's always, quite frankly, it's always a pleasure to work with Mr. Johnson. And I think a lot of folks are probably confused sometimes when they see a relationship, a good relationship between both sides. And what I always tell people is this is an adversarial system by its nature, but that doesn't mean that the parties necessarily have to be adversaries. We don't have to agree on everything, and ultimately, that's why you folks are here. Let's start with Mr. Johnson's comments about the text messages and how text messages don't show all of what a person is doing. He's right. They don't show all of what a person is doing or necessarily even what a person is thinking, but they do offer a window into the insight of what a person is thinking about. They do offer a window into what a person is telling somebody else to do or telling somebody else to say. So the fact that there are that binder full of text messages over a 6-month period about what to do to punish Timothy offers you a window into the inside of the defendant. But actions are what speaks louder than words here. Because everything that she talked about, everything that she wanted to have done, with the exception of one thing, so out of bounds, I can't even believe she posed it, but everything that she wanted to have done was done. That's not text messages, that's her actions. Her actions, not her text messages, caused Timothy's death. Her actions, not her text messages, caused Timothy to suffer serious emotional, mental, and physical harm that resulted in his death. Withhold the food. Give him bread with hot sauce. Put him in an ice bath. Make sure he doesn't sleep. Make sure all the food is locked up. Make him run the stairs. It goes on and on and on and on. Her actions speak louder than her words. Mr. Johnson talked to you about Paul. And I'll leave you to your recollection of what Paul's deal was, but Mr. Johnson summarized it fairly well. There is not an agreement in place that Paul is not charged with murder in this case. Ultimately, that's a decision that our office gets to make. So he wants you to look at Paul's testimony through that lens. Go ahead. Please do. What did Paul lie about? What did Paul get on the stand and tell you that wasn't true? What did Paul get up there and describe what he had done to Timothy at Shanda's direction that didn't happen? Nothing. Mr. Johnson cited nothing for you to look at in Paul's testimony that wasn't true. And he can't, because everything Paul talked about that he did is verified by the text messages. Every single one of them. And again, the only thing he didn't do, and he's the one that drew the line, the only thing he didn't do was when the day before her child dies, as she's looking at him in an ice bath for hours upon end, and says, hey, crazy idea. What would it feel like if hot sauce was poured on your private parts? I'm not saying touch him there or anything, but what do you think? Are you kidding me? That's why I said yesterday, did you even need to ask that question? What do you think? That's what's in her mind. That's how you determine what her intent is. That's what the instructions are going to tell you to do. This isn't a tiny glimpse of her. This isn't a tiny moment in time, and you can't assume that that's what she is. You can assume that's what she has done for the last 6 months. Because that's what this is about. That's what these text messages are about. Every single one of them. Right up until the very end. The last thing she says to Paul before they find Timothy that next morning is, I had to drag him back into the small room. He decided to go big or go home today. The last thing she says to her child, you don't have to breathe with your mouth open, dummy. Her actions, what makes her guilty? The text messages are just evidence to support the actions that she took. Paul aided and abetted in the death of his brother. There's no question about that. He did these things. But you saw Paul. You heard him talk about what limitations he has. You heard him talk about what type of person he was. But you know what Paul is not? Paul is not Timothy's father. Paul is not the person charged with the care and custody and love of his brother. He can love him. And as he said, I guess I didn't love him enough. It's up to you whether you believe that was genuine or not. But even if you believe it wasn't, even if you believe his emotion about this and his remorse about this is fake, he didn't lie about anything else. It's all proven. And let's just assume, for the sake of argument, that Paul is the mastermind behind all of this. Paul's responsible for everything. Why do you leave him alone with him? If you're the parent, why are you leaving your child alone with somebody who's this monstrous? It doesn't make any sense. The reason Paul is left to watch over him is because Shanda can manipulate Paul into doing the things that she needs to have done. She knew she had somebody in Paul that would carry out her instructions implicitly. I'm glad she stopped Paul from being physical with Timothy. I am. I appreciate that the one thing he did not actually have to suffer as a result of this were beatings. But everything else was just to isolate Timothy from the world. Look at the lengths she went to make sure that the grandmother of the youngest child couldn't come to the home, to the point where she's tracking her on her phone when she's driving home from work. Now, I don't like it when my in-laws come over and my house is dirty, but I'm not looking at my phone to see when they're going to get here or make sure I meet them outside so they don't come inside. You only do that because you're trying to hide something. What is she trying to hide? She's trying to hide Timothy. Because anybody that would have seen Timothy, anybody that looked at that child would have known what was going on. And she couldn't have that. And her mind is working well enough to know, I can't have people seeing Timothy. I can't have photographs of Timothy. I need to have Paul do these things. I need to make sure that Timothy doesn't get to go outside. Did you hear her say anything about anywhere that Timothy got to go? The closest she came to saying, well, the backyard is kind of open and you can kind of see in the backyard. She talked about taking him to Craig's Cruisers or taking him to a movie or taking him to a restaurant, any of that stuff? No. Timothy was a prisoner, treated lower than a human, treated lower than an animal in his own home. A prisoner in his own home. The 911 call. She said all those things. You heard all those things. I'll leave it to you to determine whether or not the emotion that she's displaying there was real. Sounds cold. Yeah, she's upset. She's upset that he's dead. But if you're so worried, if you're so concerned, if you're so alarmed, if you care so much about this person, why do you wait 18 minutes to call 911? Why, when your son, who's 20 years old, says to you, I think we need to call an ambulance, or should we call an ambulance? Say, no, not yet. Not yet? Not yet? When? When you're done making it sure, like, you're covering up as much evidence as possible? Because that's when. Because then it becomes a matter of making sure he's got pants on and put your belt on to make sure he looks, that he's looked this way. Make sure we tell him he was on a hunger strike. And now I guess we'll have to call 911. Not yet. Don't call 911 yet. What are you waiting for? Got to get the story straight. Guess I'm going to be late for work. You heard Paul up here yesterday say that he'd trade places with Timothy if he could. Did you hear the defendant say that? No. Mr. Johnson said she had so many things on her mind. It was just, this was just one thing too many. He's right. Timothy was the one thing too many. Timothy was too much for her. And as a result, she decided she wasn't going to lose this fight. Timothy was too much for her to handle, but she was going to win. And again, don't take my word for it. February 16th, 5 months before Timothy dies. I may need some help with it, but I'm about to get a lock for the pantry door. Remember what she said about the pantry? And a lock for the fridge and both freezers, and then we won't leave any food out in those areas, and he won't have access to unlock those. This is supposedly February 14th. This is when he's on a hunger strike because of Adam's stroke, right? So your child's on a hunger strike and you're locking away the food? Paul's response, okay. If you disagree, please say so, but he is not going to win this. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. She was bound and determined that she was going to win. Timothy was no longer a human to her. Timothy was something even below the dogs that she trained, that she was going to make sure that she won this fight. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now up to you to send a message to her that she lost this fight. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Roberts.
Well, for those of you that can hear versus those of you that can't hear, and I'm so sorry. This happened the first trial too, and I don't understand it. Like Tammy said, it's been fine. It was fine. It was fine. And then all of a sudden, people were sending me messages like, I can't hear it. And other people like, it's fine. I have no clue. I really don't. And I feel bad. I wish I could fix it. I've done everything that I can do to try to boost it up. And I cannot do anymore. Yes, old soul, her own, and gross. All right, so unless you guys want to hear jury instructions, I'm going to skip to the judge is going to give a brief explanation of why Shanda's not there, and then the verdict. So I can skip to that unless you guys just are dying to hear. I know Gabby's a no. I mean, yeah, I have to back out of this. Yep, Shani, I can do that. I don't know that it's. I hopefully it'll help. Let me do that. Yes, Carmen, they did say that. Sticky, I don't remember having that happen. Like I was with you on everything. I can do whatever. If you think it'll help, Shani, I will do it. But I don't remember cassette saving to a cassette. That's crazy. Where did I just like where did it go? Where did it go in? Get in there. Oh my goodness. Okay, hang on one sec. I gotta get back to where I was. I think Shanda is like a little freaking gremlin in her trial. I do just wake up with a fabulous bun in my hair every day. Gabby, I'm not answering that. I can't turn it off and back on right now either. All right, give me a second to get back to where we need to be. Oh, we have closed captionings for this minute and 51-second video of the judge explaining where Shanda is. But thanks for giving us closed captionings on the freaking closing arguments. Google TRSA. Well, thanks for stealing your next comment. Sorry. If I turned it off and back on, you guys I don't know. You guys would still be here because remember when I lost power and then it came back on and you guys were still just sitting here. You guys were just sitting here chatting away. That was hilarious. All right, well, I don't know how this is going to come through. It may be like blow your eardrums out. You might not be able to hear it at all. I don't know, but you will be able to read it.
All right, we are back in the record in file 23110 FC, People versus Shanda Vander Ark.
I'm going with blowing
The
eardrums.
Court
for me.
has been informed the jury has reached a verdict. Mr. Johnson, Ms. Vander Ark is not present. My understanding is you had an opportunity to speak with her and discuss her presence today. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor. That's where I've been since I last adjournment. So I just came up with her. She's declined to join us for this portion of the trial.
Okay. During the break, I anticipated that, and I did a little case law research. There is no law in the state of Michigan at this time that requires the defendant to be present for the verdict. There is a law that does require her to be here for sentencing and hear the victim statements, but so the court was essentially left with a choice of forcibly compelling her to be here, which could cause her to, I don't know, could cause further issues. We have deputies that certainly, if I order them to do that, they would do that, but I don't want to put them in a position of harm if something happens, and I don't think that's appropriate. So I'm not going to do that. And again, there is no law that requires her to do that. So, Mr. Roberts, anything for the record before we bring the jury out?
Your Honor, I would concur with the court's research here. I think that we're all aware that there was a law recently passed that requires the defendant to be present for at least the victim impact portion of sentencing, and I agree. I don't think there's anything that requires her to be here. So pursuant to the written stipulation that she has already filed and has been witnessed and updated by Mr. Johnson as we go here, I think we can proceed without her presence.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Johnson, before we leave it again?
No, sir.
All right, please
And that's the end of that one.
rise.
And here we go with the verdict. It went right to it. What a swell thing. That's nice of it. Yeah, Sticky, if this was an old trial, we'd probably have perfect audio because Betty's has been really good. Yeah, and it's been okay. And then all of a sudden it's not okay.
You may be seated. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the court has been informed that you have reached a verdict. If that is true, I'd have the foreman please rise and give the verdict form to Mr. Weaver, the bailiff.
Any not guilties out there? Just sorry.
All right, thank you, Mr. Weaver. Can the foreperson please rise and announce the verdict?
She has to read the whole thing, or?
Typically, there's no set way to do it, but typically you could say in the people of the state of Michigan versus, and then on one count, what the verdict is, and count two.
And the people of the United States versus Shanda Vander Ark, count one.
It could be people of the state of Michigan, correct?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Okay.
No,
That's okay.
it's all of us.
State of Michigan versus Shanda Vander Ark, count one, charging open murder involving the death of Timothy Ferguson. We find her guilty of first-degree felony murder. Count two, first-degree child abuse. We find her guilty of first-degree child abuse.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Court will record the verdict for the record. Mr. Johnson, would you like the jury poll?
Please.
All right. All right, juror number 2, please rise. And is that your verdict?
Yes, sir.
Juror number 4, is that your verdict? Okay. And you don't have to say, you can say yes or no. So juror number, actually, that was juror number 4. Juror number 5, is that your verdict?
Yes.
All right, you can sit down. Juror number 6, please rise. Is that your verdict?
Yes, sir.
All right, juror number 7, is that your verdict?
Yes.
All right, juror number 8, is that your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 9, is that your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 10, is that your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 11, is that your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Juror number 12, is that your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 13, is that your verdict?
Yes.
And juror number 14, is that your verdict?
Yes.
All right. So with that being said, again, the court will record the verdict for the record. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for your service. This was an incredibly difficult case. Now, you know, when the attorneys were discussing what the evidence would be, I think you understand what we were talking about. Unfortunately, now, it was not for the faint of heart. And certainly those of you who did this, unfortunately, it's unfortunate that you will not get those images out of your mind. I won't. But somebody had to do it. And I'm glad that you were willing to do that. You are discharged of service at this time. You are free to talk to anyone you wish about this, or you don't have to talk to anybody if you don't want to, but you're free. Restriction regarding news reports, you can do anything you want. You can talk to anyone you want at this point going forward. So again, thank you for your service, and you are excused. Mr. Weaver, please rise.
If they said not guilty, you'd probably throw your TV out the window. Please don't do that. I don't want to be responsible. So I thought the juror was louder than freaking people in the courtroom. They're probably sitting right by that cameraman who's out at 4 o'clock sharp every day. Doesn't matter where court is at. I don't know if it is or not, but I would hope so. Because, yeah, I can't imagine seeing what they saw and not going to talk to somebody about it. That you couldn't even, it'd be hard to talk to just like even your family members, your friends, like about what you saw, because they would just not, they wouldn't understand it. Like, because it'd be hard to understand. Like, that's horrible. And listening, yeah, I agree, Shinny, closer to the camera dude before he ran. Listening to them describe Timothy on his final day, there's no way she did not know he was dying. There's just no way. And it may have even been too late for her to even take him to the hospital at that point. I don't know. We'll never know because she didn't try. But there's the fact that he could even walk if he could. Every time they talk about the pizza roll, about Paul telling Paul to hold the pizza roll in front of his face to see if he like reacted to it, like tried to get it. It sent me right to like my granddaughter. And, you know, if you've got something, you know, if she's hungry and you've got something that she wants, I mean, you know, especially when they're really little and they like, you know, they're like coming for it, but they're like with their mouth and they're just, that's all I could see. And I'm like, how could you do that to him? Like, how could you do that? I just, every time they would say that, I would just go right to seeing her do that and was like, how? Like, how could you do that? Like, I'll just be like, here's everything you want. Here's all the food you want from now on. Just eat it. I don't care. Because I won't be able to, I won't be able to see her do that and not think about him. Like that is just so bad. It is so bad. And it just, sorry, Carmen, but I could not. Get that image out of my mind. Yes. And then her doing that. Him gasping for air. Like he's near death, gasping for air, and she closes his mouth and calls him dummy. She knew what she did. She knew what she was doing, and that's why she wasn't in the courtroom after she testified, and it went so horribly wrong for her. That's my opinion. That's only my opinion. But it's so maddening that she just come back and finish what you started. Finish what you did. I do, if you, well, maybe I'll save that and make sure that I can hear it, even though that doesn't guarantee you'll be able to hear it, apparently. Her sentencing. Yeah, Gabby, that's what I was just doing. Get out of my head, Gabby. Her sentencing it's about 50 minutes. So maybe I'll save that for tomorrow. And that if something happens and they don't end up streaming her hearing for tomorrow, we'll watch that and we'll watch Paul's sentencing. If they do end up streaming her hearing tomorrow, depending on how long that is, because the prosecutor said they do plan on calling witnesses, and the defense attorney that you all just saw may be one of them, because she's claiming just shoot. See, you thought, didn't want to have you anyway. She's claiming that she was catatonic and not competent to stand trial. Catatonic is BS. Sorry, not a doctor, but I saw her, and y'all did too. Completely competent. Again, not a doctor, but y'all saw her. I saw her. She answered questions just fine. Her memory maybe is apparently not so swell compared for what she says, but those are her two grounds that she's asking for a new trial. And that hearing, that's what that hearing's about tomorrow. So she's got a new attorney because this one that sorry. Well, I think she fired this guy. Whatever. He did the best that he could. He had nothing to work with. And then he still sat there and complimented the prosecutor. Like, he's just a nice guy. I'm sorry, he is. So I hope to get to hear from him tomorrow on the stand. I hope we get to see it just in general. I hope the audio's like decent. See you, Gabby. And thank you, Gabby, for your help. Sorry, that was rude. So that's the plan. The hearing is supposed to start at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. I don't think so. I think he wouldn't be. I don't think he'd be doing anything with the attorney-client privilege. He would be talking about her state. I think of maybe his opinion if she was competent, and I don't know that they're even going to touch on the catatonic thing. I have no idea. you've seen people who are actually catatonic in an interview room after a very traumatic event, very different than what she was doing. I would think so. I would think so. Yeah, can we call the court? I wish. I wish. You know what bugs me the most, Shani? So in the Betty Broderick trial, which we will go back to on Monday, that trial is from 30 plus years ago, and the audio in that is so good compared to what we are dealing with these days. And I get so, like, anytime that you get somebody on the stand and the prosecutor says, hey, we need you to speak up because the court reporter's got to take everything down, so we need you to answer yes or no, speak loudly, because the microphone in front of you is not for amplifying your voice. I just scream like, why? Because even the people in the courtroom probably want to hear what you're saying. So I don't understand why the audio in the court was so much better before than now. Like, I don't understand it. It's a huge pet peeve. It's hard to fix. You do what you can on your end. And again, tonight it was working for some and not for others. So it's like, it's crazy. And I feel horrible. Like I feel awful because the closing argument was good. And, the prosecutor's closing argument was good. The defense closing argument, I'm not going to say it was bad. He just did what he could. He it's like, here's a pile of crap. Make it pretty. Like, tie some kind of a bow around it. Whatever. What's up, Flash fan? So anyway, I will hey, I don't know if Sticky, are you saying the audio's better because of saving files to a cassette? The audio's worse? I don't know. True story. So as a camera person. Oh my gosh. Like, we should be having issues with the Betty trial, not with a trial from 2023. Yes. So Carmen, thank you. She's like, get back on track, Mom. Come on, come here. I will be back in the morning. I normally don't stream on Fridays because I have my granddaughter. Whoopsies. It just worked out this week. I don't have her. And we were able to do this trial, get it finished up before the hearing tomorrow. Hearing's at 10 a.m. Eastern time. I'm probably going to start around 9:50 a.m. Eastern time. We'll just hang out, do whatever. I doubt they start on time, but I know if I start at 10, they'll start at 10. Saving files to cassette was where technology peaked. Well, that sounds Sticky. That's depressing. That's depressing. That's depressing because that was a long time ago. They need to do better. I hope so, Flash fan. Court TV says they will be covering the trial or covering the hearing, but they did not say like covering it live, covering it after. They didn't say. So I will check Court TV. I will check this channel here because that's where all the sentences, like sentencing Paul, sentencing Shanda, came through. And that audio was doing the same thing. So we'll see what happens. What, Carmen? No, 9:50 a.m. Eastern time volleyball volcano vagina time for you and a dare. What? 8:30 a dare time. 8:50 a dare time. 8:50. Thank you, Flash Fan. You are the person that finds all the links for me. All right, so if you made it this far, thank you. And I apologize that, okay, good. I'm glad you clarified that because that was weird and I read it. So, but I apologize for the sound issues. Hopefully they're better tomorrow and hopefully y'all can hear. Or, you know, at least they'll have closed captionings that won't make any sense. But for that, please enjoy the rest of your evening. And thanks. We got 2 things to do. It wasn't internet issues, Flash Fan. I don't know what it was. I don't know. It happened the first time I did this trial too. We got to some of the points where some people could hear it and some people couldn't. And that's what happened today. Some people could hear it, some people couldn't. It's weird. You have 2 things to do in the morning. You're welcome. I don't know. I'm not answering. I mean, I guess I would be a person that could answer, but I'm not going to. Oh, Daybell tomorrow. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna guess here. Tink. Here's my prediction. Shanda, no. Daybell, life. Well, not life, but she's already got life, so just give her life. I don't even know what her the guidelines are on hers this time. There's so many. And Gabby, she just apologized. So, all right, guys, I'm going now. Have a good night. I'll see you guys in the morning. Weird, but I'll be here. Probably with just going to wake up like this, Gabby. It's going to be right there. So, see you guys all later.